So recently, I was trying to update our 15-year-old website and fix its many tech problems, and it just seemed so difficult. I was completely overwhelmed with all this information, stuff to sort out. I couldn't really think clearly. Everything was jumbled up. My mind was just this tangle of spaghetti thoughts. And finally, because I did learn a long time ago. Sometimes I forget, but I did learn a long time ago that as soon as you are struggling with anything, just stop. Just stop. Struggle does not get you anywhere. Don't struggle with anything. When I remembered that, I just pushed my laptop away and I sat quietly. I asked the divine, I asked Goddess to inspire me. And immediately a phrase that I knew a long time ago and had forgotten, immediately a phrase popped into my head. Sometimes it is easier to build something brand new from scratch than try to fix something old and tired and broken. And I took the hint. I scrapped the old site and I started from scratch. And the energy was with me. It felt fresh. It flowed. It felt exciting to create something new on a blank canvas rather than struggling, trying to rework some tired old thing. It felt really good. With some things, it is easier to start from scratch, creating something brand new, than try to fix or rework something that has been around a while. When you're facing a challenge, how can you tell if you should scrap the old and start from scratch with a clean slate or build on and rework what already is? Here's one way. Contemplate what you believe forms the underpinning, the foundation of the issue. If the foundation is solid and good, then you may well want to stick with it, fix it, rework it, rebuild it, retrain the people who might be involved because it's worth saving. If, however, the underpinning of the issue, whatever it is fundamentally unsound or flawed, then in the words of, I think, Brave New World, ending is better than mending. If the foundations and bones of a house are solid and sound and well built, then yeah, make your repairs and renovations. If the foundations of the house are unsound, it might be better to walk away, as it is nearly impossible to fix deep foundations that are now unsound. When you try to fix a problem, if the underlying foundation is bad, you will spend so much energy trying to get it to where you want it. And after all that, you still may not be successful. Every issue has a morphic field of information in the universe. When you address what you think of as a problem, you are facing usually a huge amount of information in the field that is typically all going in one direction and often in the direction of the problem. And even if you say to yourself, I'm going to fix this problem, the subject of the sentence is still problem. And the universe only pays attention to the subject of your thought. You think you are looking for solutions to a problem, but really you're just focusing on what's wrong. That which you focus on tends to expand. It is a universal law, whether you like it or not. If you say repeatedly, I have a problem, then you will definitely tend to attract more of that same kind of energy or more difficulty, more challenge, more problems. This is not victim blaming. It's just a natural law. If the issue is seated in a broken or unworkable idea, it's better to turn away and start with a fresh mind, a blank slate, a new creation. Let's take patriarchy, for example. A lot of women I know, including in the past myself, spend a lot of time trying to fix our patriarchal system, trying to rework it through voting for new laws and for leaders we think can fix things, trying to get this system to work for women, trying to point out, often to men, what is wrong in the hopes that they will see the obvious and change. And I've been doing that for a long time. But here's the thing. We all want a woman honoring system, a system that works for life, for women, for children. But examine the foundation of patriarchy, and you will find that it is founded on the premise of dishonoring woman, of stealing woman's labor, of making woman basically a slave to be controlled by men and men's laws. Z. Budapest said, patriarchy is theft. And she's right. We will never be able to fix patriarchy. We will never be able to get this system to work for us because its fundamental premise is woman dishonoring, life denying. And it's built on two essential concepts. One, that men are the rightful controllers of woman, and two, that men's systems are entitled to woman's unpaid labor. You can't fix that. I've spent 5 decades as a devoted women's liberationist trying to work within the system for change because I couldn't see that fact, that it's unfixable because its very premise is broken, flawed, unworkable, unfixable. After 50 years of work, what has happened in my own lifetime? Well, suddenly the whole trans thing pops up seemingly out of nowhere. Suddenly words for what woman is and what woman does are being erased. Suddenly medical manuals are being rewritten to eliminate the word mother. People are calling penises a lady dick. Nobody knows what a woman is anymore. We are told that men can get pregnant. We no longer have spaces to ourselves like spas and bathrooms and prisons and sporting events. And lesbian teenagers are told that they are boys and should cut off their breasts. You cannot fix what is fundamentally flawed. Now, it may appear somewhere along the line that it looks like you've made some progress, just as I have thought many times. Ooh, progress. We women have won something. Yay, Roe v. Wade. Woohoo! No, just when you think you've made some progress, something else, when you're in a fundamentally flawed system, something else will crop up to undermine your efforts. In these cases, it is best to stop trying. It's best to turn away from the problem, the fundamentally flawed premise that you're trying desperately to fix and rework and make workable. It's better to focus on creating something new, a system, in this case, that does work for women. And I am not saying this is easy. We are talking about an entire worldwide civilization. It is easy when you're talking about something simple like abandoning your old website and making a spiffy new one. We women are forced to live within a system that was designed specifically to use and abuse us. Every day we have to get up and go forth into a world that was not designed for us. Even safety belts are not designed for women's bodies. There's nowhere else to go. There's no land of Themyscira for us. And because of 6,000 years of oppression, most of us don't have much in the way of resources to begin creating something new. When I wanted a new clean slate for our website, I had to pay. To start fresh, usually you do somehow when you walk away from an old system that's unfixable. Usually you have to pay somehow. But that doesn't mean that we can't begin, that we women can't begin somewhere, somehow. We can pay with our own time and energy and focus, perhaps starting with our own lives, what is not working in our own lives. When we are facing an issue of something we think of as a problem, perhaps we can ask ourselves the question, what is the nature of the foundation of this issue. Is it flawed or is it fixable? Is it irrevocably broken or is it worth saving? Is it life affirming or is it life denying? Fundamentally life denying. And of course, there are countless reasons why sometimes we must stay and try to fix a problem. We have kids, we have parents we have to care for, or we started a business with our husband, but now we're not getting along years later, but now our money's all tied up and tangled up with his. Sure, obviously, each woman has to look at her issues and decide for herself what works for her with her unique set of circumstances. Each woman has to decide for herself on every issue that she considers to be a problem or a challenge. She has to decide for herself if the foundation of the thing is fundamentally flawed or if it's fundamentally sound and just needs some tweaking, just needs some fixing. Let's say you're having trouble with your husband. Ask yourself, as a person, is he fundamentally flawed? Or does the relationship just need some new boundaries from you? If he, let's say he hits you, okay, he's fundamentally flawed and there is no fix. He is a man who hits women. You must walk away and create a new life rather than try to fix what you've got. And best if you can try to do that without getting killed. If, on the other hand, your difficulty is that, I don't know, he doesn't do his share of the housework, you might be able to fix that. Not with talking, never with talking, always with certain actions. And it is true, many humans, both women and men, do tend to run away from problems instead of staying to fix them. And this is when we find out that wherever you go, there you are. You always drag yourself and your shit with you into every new situation. So there's that. If you've been married 5 times by the time you're 50, it might be you who has some foundational flaws to be examined. If you're having trouble with an employer, ask yourself, is this job and this supervisor or company fundamentally flawed? Or is it basically a decent place with decent people doing something decent in the world? If you're working as a waitress at Hooters, know that it is fundamentally flawed because the very premise on which Hooters as a company is founded is sexual objectification of women. That's the whole underlying idea. You'll never be able to overcome that. You have to walk away. You have to create something new for yourself. Walk away if you can, or at least make a plan to walk away. This applies to both large things and small things. Our website was fundamentally flawed for us because it was designed 15 years ago and technology has completely changed in the last decade. So it was better to create something new. Don't fight a huge morphic field of bullshit. It's like trying to untangle a giant plate of spaghetti. Just throw it out and cook some fresh new pasta, maybe shells that can't tangle up. When the fundamental principle of this society rests on using and abusing women, for generations, men have built entire economies that are founded on the expectation of woman's unpaid labor going into that system and males controlling our reproduction. Our unpaid labor is essential to their economic system succeeding. Do you think that laws protecting women in this system will ever be enough? No, they won't. Look at what's happening now with the trans issue in sports. Males are allowed to compete against females and win our trophies, our prize money, our future corporate sponsorships. Sure, we might get that particular issue to change. We might get a couple of laws passed. We probably will. But it will be a sop thrown to us to shut us up. The fundamental broken premise will always cause something new to crop up, to screw women over, because that's the underlying idea of the rule of the father structure of the society in which we live. we will work our tails off, putting out little fires here and there, while new ones flame up over there. We women must see that we cannot fix this system. We can only withdraw our energy from it to the extent that we can and still survive. We can only begin to envision a new structure for civilization, for ourselves. So how do we start? We must start with our own individual lives. And in the Queen Teachings for Women, we teach ways to do this, ways to be sovereign in one's own life. We women must start by creating the best pool of safety and security and abundance as best we can with whatever we've got now, and then start to plan, start to find ways to join with other good, trustworthy women to enlarge that system, to enlarge a system that we can see is fundamentally wholesome, a system that will work for women. What could this mean? Well, many things, many creative possibilities. In the Middle Ages, there were these things called beguinages in Europe, like a row of apartment houses for single women and their children, where women only could work, sell their wares, and take care of their children in relative safety. Women supporting women, women creating culture that worked for them. What happened to those? Let's bring those back. There are a few tiny house villages in the US where women form a community of care and support for one another. And there are more and more women deciding by choice, and sometimes not by choice, to live the van life, with more and more women only meetups like Women's Rubber Tramp Rendezvous in Quartzsite, Arizona. I think it's in every January. There are a few women-only intentional communities in the US, and there are some women-only expat communities in Mexico and some other countries. Now, these are separatist possibilities, but our solutions, of course, can't be only separatist. Men and boys must be an important part of a respected part of human community worldwide, as long as women lead the way in creating this system of society that works for women and children, much like the ancient and modern matriarchies, some of which still exist, of which author and historian Heidi Gettner Abendroth, Alicia Deva, and many others speak. Because what works for women and our children works for everyone. In the morphic field of patriarchy are recorded over 6,000 years of hideous abuse of women, children, animals, and the land. Of course, we have to see clearly what's happening to us in this misogynist civilization. We cannot allow ourselves to deny it. We can't be blind to it. And certainly we must stand up to it where necessary. But I ask us, women, let's not spend all our energy fighting it, trying to fix a broken system, trying to unravel that hopeless tangle of spaghetti. It's exhausting. Let's not let that be our entire focus. When I thought about trying to fix our complicated, tired old website, I felt exhausted and defeated before I even started. But when I turned away from it completely, when I let myself have a new, fresh, clean, blank slate to work on, I felt energized. I could wash away old ideas that I'd come up with 15 years ago. I could allow the new ideas that I've had in the last few years a free space to come forward. I felt excited. I felt energized to create something that would work for us now. While we can certainly spend time rightfully criticizing this patriarchal culture, let's also spend at least as much time, if not a bigger chunk of our precious time, envisioning with energy and excitement systems that we can create now, that we can begin at least to create now, that can work for women and children. Let's do that. Let's create in a spirit of delight and discovery, systems that work for us, systems by women, for women, about women. And everyone, including men, will surely benefit. Blessed be.